The night I decided to forgive my husband was the same night I discovered I had never really known him. I remember standing in our bedroom, holding the divorce papers I had refused to sign for 3 weeks. My hands were shaking. Not because I was afraid to leave him. Because, for the first time in months, I was thinking about staying. My husband, Daniel, was sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at me with tears in his eyes. "Please, Rachel," he whispered. "Give me one more chance." I had heard those words before. Too many times. But that night, something about his voice sounded different. He reached for my hand. "I know I hurt you," he said. "I know I destroyed your trust. But I swear there is nothing else. No other woman. No other secret. I made mistakes, Rachel. Terrible mistakes. But I still love you." I looked at the man I had been married to for 14 years. The man I had built a home with. The man I had once believed I would grow old beside. And against every warning inside my heart, I almost believed him. I almost forgave him. Then his phone rang. And the expression on his face changed instantly. It wasn't the sound of the phone that frightened me. It was the way Daniel looked at it, like the person calling had the power to destroy everything. He didn't move. Neither did I. The phone kept ringing on the bed between us. And then I saw the screen. Unknown caller. Daniel swallowed hard. "Don't answer it," he said. That was when I knew. Whatever was about to happen had nothing to do with forgiveness. And everything to do with a secret my husband had been hiding from me. 3 months earlier, I would have laughed if someone told me my perfect marriage was about to fall apart. Daniel and I weren't one of those couples who fought loudly in public. We didn't embarrass each other. We didn't scream across restaurants. We looked happy. At family gatherings, people often told us how lucky we were. "You two are still in love after 14 years, my sister used to say. I believed her. At least, I thought I did. Daniel was a successful businessman. He owned a small construction company that had grown steadily over the years. I worked as an interior designer, and together we had built a comfortable life. We had a beautiful house, 2 cars, a quiet neighborhood, family dinners, vacations. Everything looked perfect from the outside. But somewhere along the way, Daniel changed. It started with small things. He began taking his phone everywhere, the bathroom, the kitchen, even when he went downstairs for a glass of water. He changed his password. Then he started receiving calls late at night. Whenever I asked who was calling, he'd say the same thing. Work. At first, I didn't question it. Then one night, I woke up around 2 in the morning and found him standing by the window, whispering into his phone. He immediately ended the call when he saw me. Who was that? Nobody. Nobody. That word stayed with me. Because nobody doesn't call your husband at 2 in the morning. Nobody doesn't make him leave the bedroom to answer. And nobody doesn't make a man look guilty. Still, I tried to trust him. Until the night I found the receipt. It was from an expensive hotel downtown. Daniel had told me he'd been attending a business meeting that evening. The receipt showed a room, 1 night, 2 guests. I confronted him. He didn't even hesitate. A client needed somewhere private to meet. I stared at him. Then why were there 2 names? He became angry. Not defensive. Angry. "You're becoming paranoid, Rachel." That sentence hurt more than the receipt. Because suddenly, the problem wasn't his behavior. It was my reaction to it. I began questioning myself. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe marriage really did become complicated after 14 years. Maybe I was simply afraid of losing him. So I tried harder. I cooked his favorite meals. I planned a weekend away. I stopped asking questions. I convinced myself that trust meant believing someone even when you were afraid. But then I discovered the messages. I wasn't supposed to see them. Daniel had left his old tablet in the study. I was looking for a document when a message appeared. I saw only one sentence. She still doesn't know, does she? My heart stopped. Before I could open it, the message disappeared. Daniel walked into the room. What are you doing? I turned around. What don't I know? He stared at me. And for the first time in 14 years, my husband looked like a stranger. The argument that followed lasted almost an hour. He denied everything. He told me the message was taken out of context. He told me I was invading his privacy. Then he said something I will never forget. If you don't trust me, maybe this marriage is already over. I went silent. Because that was exactly what he wanted. He wanted me to feel guilty. He wanted me to think I was destroying our marriage by asking questions. That night, I slept in the guest room. The next morning, Daniel left before sunrise. He didn't kiss me goodbye. He didn't even say goodbye. For the next 2 weeks, we barely spoke. Then I found out about another woman. Her name was Melissa. I discovered her name on a bank statement. There were payments to a private apartment, monthly, for almost a year. When Daniel came home that evening, I put the statement on the kitchen table. Who is Melissa? He looked at it. Then he looked at me. And said nothing. That silence told me everything. I asked him if he was having an affair. He finally admitted he had been seeing someone. But he insisted it was over. It ended months ago. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to leave. Instead, I cried. Not because I loved him more than I loved myself. But because I suddenly realized that 14 years of memories could be built on a lie. Daniel apologized. He promised therapy. He promised transparency. He promised he would spend the rest of his life earning back my trust. And for a short time, I believed him. Until I discovered the second secret. Melissa wasn't the only woman. There had been someone else. And when I discovered that, something inside me broke. I packed a suitcase. I called my sister. I told her I was leaving. Daniel came home and found me standing near the front door. He didn't try to stop me. Instead, he sat down. And cried. I had never seen him cry like that. He told me he was ashamed. He told me he had made terrible choices. He said he didn't want to lose me. Then he said something that almost destroyed my anger. I know I don't deserve you, he whispered. But please don't let one terrible chapter erase 14 years. I wanted to hate him. But love doesn't disappear just because someone hurts you. Sometimes that's the cruelest part. I still loved him. And that was why I couldn't simply walk away. So I gave him one final condition. No more lies. No hidden phones. No secret accounts. No unexplained disappearances. If there was anything else, he had to tell me. Everything. He promised. And for 3 weeks, things seemed different. He came home earlier. He called me during the day. He left his phone on the table. He even suggested marriage counseling. Slowly, I started believing we might survive. Then came that night. The night I was about to forgive him. I remember everything. The rain outside. The dim bedroom light. The divorce papers on the dresser. Daniel sitting beside me. His voice shaking as he apologized. I know I don't deserve another chance, he said. But if you give me one, I'll spend the rest of my life proving that I can be the man you thought I was. I looked at him. Is there anything else? He hesitated. Just for a second. But he answered. No, that single word would haunt me. Because moments later, his phone rang. Unknown caller. Daniel froze. I looked at him. He looked at the phone. Then back at me. "Don't answer that," he said. "Why?" "It's probably nothing." I reached for it. He grabbed my wrist. "Rachel, please." I pulled my hand away. "Why are you afraid of a phone call?" He didn't answer. The phone stopped ringing. For 3 seconds, the room was silent. Then it rang again. This time, a voicemail notification appeared. I picked up the phone. Daniel stood up. "Give it to me." "No, Rachel, please." I pressed play. At first, there was silence. Then a woman's voice came through the speaker. "Daniel, you need to call me back. I can't keep protecting you." My entire body went cold. Daniel closed his eyes. The woman continued. "If your wife finds out what happened that night, everything is over." The message ended. I looked at my husband. "What happened that night?" He said nothing. "Daniel, what happened?" Still nothing. Then he whispered, "You weren't supposed to hear that." And those 6 words destroyed the last piece of trust one had left. I spent the next hour demanding answers. Daniel finally told me the woman was named Sarah. She had worked for his company. But he still wasn't telling me the truth. I could feel it. There was something bigger. Something he was terrified I would discover. I asked him what happened that night. He said it was complicated. I told him I didn't care. I wanted the truth. Finally, he sat down and told me. A year earlier, Daniel's company had been involved in a financial dispute. Money had disappeared from one of the business accounts. A large amount. He said he had discovered the problem but didn't report it immediately. Instead, he tried to fix it himself. Sarah had known about it. She had helped him cover it up. But there was more. The money hadn't simply disappeared. It had been transferred into an account connected to someone in our family. I stared at him. "Who?" Daniel looked away. I already knew something was wrong. "Who?" He finally said the name. "My brother." I couldn't breathe. My own brother had been involved. But Daniel wasn't finished. He told me the money had been used to pay debts. And when Sarah threatened to expose them, Daniel began paying her to keep quiet. The affair had started during that period. It wasn't an excuse. It was simply another part of the truth. But there was still one question. Why had Sarah said, "What happened that night?" I asked Daniel. He refused to answer. So I did something I hadn't done in 14 years. I stopped asking my husband for the truth. I went looking for it myself. The next morning, I contacted Sarah. She agreed to meet me. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe. She looked nothing like the woman I had imagined. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't arrogant. She looked exhausted. "I never wanted to hurt you," she said. I laughed bitterly. "You already did." She lowered her eyes. Then she told me something Daniel had never mentioned. The night of the hotel meeting, Daniel hadn't been alone with her. Someone else had been there. Someone who had threatened him. Someone who had evidence against him. I asked who. She slid a small envelope across the table. Inside was a photograph. I looked at it. And my heart nearly stopped. The person standing beside Daniel that night was my brother. But there was something else in the photograph. A third person. Someone I recognized immediately. My husband's business partner. Suddenly, everything made sense. The secret meetings. The money. The hotel. The phone calls. The lies. This wasn't just about an affair. My husband had been caught inside something much bigger. And my brother had been involved from the beginning. That evening, I went home. Daniel was waiting for me. He knew. I could see it in his eyes. You met Sarah. It wasn't a question. Yes. He sat down. What did she tell you? I placed the photograph on the table. Daniel stared at it. Then he covered his face with both hands. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, I was trying to protect you. I shook my head. No. You were trying to protect yourself. He didn't argue. Because he knew I was right. I told him I wanted the complete truth. No more pieces. No more half-confessions. No more secrets. And finally, Daniel told me everything. He had known for months that my brother and his business partner were moving money illegally through the company. He had helped hide it. He had been afraid that exposing them would destroy his business. So he lied. He cheated. He paid people to remain silent. And he dragged me into a marriage built on secrets. Then he looked at me and said something that I will never forget. I thought I was protecting the life we built. I looked at him through tears. You weren't protecting our life, Daniel. I paused. You were protecting a lie. I left that house the next morning. Not because I stopped loving him. But because I finally understood something. Love without honesty becomes a prison. For weeks, I stayed with my sister. Daniel cooperated with the investigation. My brother eventually admitted his involvement. His business partner was arrested. Sarah gave investigators the evidence she had been keeping. And Daniel? He lost his company. He lost most of his friends. He lost my trust. But he never stopped trying to rebuild what he had destroyed. Months passed. One evening, Daniel came to see me. He didn't bring flowers. He didn't bring expensive gifts. He simply stood at my door. I don't expect you to come back, he said. I looked at him. What do you want? I want you to know that I'm finally telling the truth, even when the truth makes me look terrible. For the first time, I believed him. Not because I trusted him again. But because he no longer had anything left to hide. I didn't immediately take him back. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And rebuilding trust isn't something you do in one conversation. It takes time. It takes consistency. It takes truth. Months later, I finally signed the divorce papers. Daniel watched quietly. Then he nodded. He didn't fight me. He didn't beg. He simply said, I understand. And strangely, that was the moment I knew I was going to be okay. Because I realized something important. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't mean staying. Sometimes forgiveness means letting go of the anger so you can finally walk away. A year later, I received a message from Daniel. It was short. He wrote, I hope you're happy. I hope you found the peace I couldn't give you. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I smiled. Because I finally had. I never found out whether Daniel had been the worst husband in the world. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was simply a man who made one bad choice, then another, until the lies became bigger than the truth. But I learned something from him. The most dangerous secrets aren't always the ones people hide from you. Sometimes they're the ones you convince yourself not to see. That night, I thought I was about to forgive my husband. Then his phone rang. And that phone call changed my life. Not because it revealed another woman. Not because it exposed another affair. But because it finally forced me to see the truth. My marriage hadn't fallen apart that night. It had been falling apart every time Daniel chose a lie over the truth. And sometimes, the moment that breaks your heart is the same moment that finally sets you free.